It's Heelys, and it's all about fun. So cruise around with your friends.
Now, I know you didn't do this just to win an election.
Right there. That was the moment I knew I was about to spend the next however many years obsessing on a new franchise. I feel like this trailer had filled a void that at the time I didn't realize was forming due to a lack of Prince of Persia. You see, the original Assassin's Creed concept spawned from a fourth installation to the Sands of Time Prince of Persia franchise that sadly never came to be, but thankfully it gave us this. But that's honestly a topic for a whole other video. Today, we are going to be squeezing member berries to produce some sweet nostalgia juice. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed 1. Jumping right in, graphics for the most part hold up, especially up-resed on the Series X. Although all the cutscenes seem to use in-game character models, which look pretty rough nowadays, but the textures and cloth graphics are still top-notch. I remember the first time laying eyes on my boy Altair. I was instantly hooked. I had to know everything about this. The whole aesthetic was perfect to me. I really can't even put words to it. Something about this original Assassin's garb just speaks to my soul, especially being a stan of the Prince of Persia series. Hopping into the Animus for the first time is something you never forget. The glitches, spinning DNA waypoints, and the look of the old game is definitely something that's been muddied up over the years. Oh, the Animus, for those who aren't aware, is a machine that allows people to connect with the memories of their ancestors through links in their DNA. They yada yada the science, and the game is honestly better for it. Sadly though, here's where the divide becomes a hard line between fans. Some hate the modern day storyline, and the other half loves it, but we'll come back to this later in the video when it's more relevant. There's a pretty extensive tutorial which, back when this game was released, is not only helpful, but practically necessary in order to comprehend this new style of gameplay presented here, especially with the parkour systems. Immediately out the tutorial, I'm reminded that Altair is a bit of a dick. The beginning of the plot always confused me when I first played. Like, how can my mans be such a high-ranking member of the Brotherhood, yet it seems as if from the jump, Altair's never followed the tenets of the Creed? Obviously, I get that he's simply meant to be the surrogate for the audience and the player, but still, I feel the writers could have came up with a better reasoning for why our main character needs a story arc. All in all though, I genuinely enjoy him as a character, and he's honestly one of my favorite in the series. I know a lot of fans don't really vibe with this game, and I've found it's usually because a lot of them started with the Ezio trilogy, and eventually, or over time, they went back and played the first game, obviously finding it inferior to their previous experiences, which is justified, but damn, my boy deserved better than this. You start the game on a mission that, due to Alt's poor decision, leads to the death of 1 1/5 of 2 assassins in your Brotherhood, leaving you stripped of your rank, weaponry, and abilities for the time being. Quickly, I want to talk about the camera work. At times, the game will go into this cinematic mode where all you can do is walk around, and my god, I am such a sucker for Dutch angles when used correctly. I mean, look at this. Anyways, a fair portion of the game takes place at the assassin's home of Masyaf, which I have to say, for the time period, was masterfully recreated. A small area, but filled with life and character. I remember spending so much time here just screwing around, getting yelled at by NPCs.
Why would he do that?
It's the first taste the game gives you of not only the beautiful Middle Eastern architect of the area, but also introduces us to our first look at the primary enemy of not only this game, but the overarching series, the Templar Order. Ooh boy, these dudes. Quick tangent. Growing up, I didn't know much about the Templars or the Crusades. I just knew that I was the good guy and they was the bad guy, so I hated them. My favorite thing to do in this game used to be finding the first Templar in the city, baiting them up to the top of a roof, and then proceeding to continuously throw them off until they die. It was a great time. Oh, and by the way, they were terrible people in real life, so if you feel bad for them, don't. We also get our first look at what would help define the look of all Assassin's Creed games aside from the parkour systems. The leap of faith. One of the most cinematic and exciting things I'd ever seen at the time. I remember feeling like a crackhead, entering into every new city, eyes glued to the skies, just looking for my next sky-high fix. Coming back to it years after, multiple games have upped the scale again and again. It's kind of mid, but only in retrospect. On release, I ate that shit up. Back at Masyaf with the Templar attack, we are now introduced to the combat system. Another divisive thing among the fan base, but one that can be easily discussed. Point blank, it slaps. I know a lot of people post Arkham games would describe the combat as limited or possibly even boring, but on release, this system truly made me feel like a cold-blooded, skillful assassin. With the well-timed press of a button, you can end an enemy's life in the blink of an eye. The challenge can be increased the more smaller your chosen weapon gets, leading you all the way down to my favorite choice, and honestly preferred playstyle even to this day. The Hidden Blade, another reason for my obsession with this series. See, there's a kind of hidden fighting style where you can employ fear tactics through sheer brutality to end fights as guards watch you effortlessly slaughter their coworkers one by one. Eventually, the rest of them will realize they don't get paid enough for this and dip, giving you the opportunity to stand there like a badass or chase them down in the streets like the psycho you really are. After fighting off the Templars from Masyaf and getting iced by our boy Al-Mualim for our sins, only to rise once again through the power of MacGuffin number 1, which I'll explain later, we head to our first city, Damascus. Not really much to say here, it mainly serves as a means for the game to explain the primary gameplay loop we'll be experiencing for the rest of our time in Assassin's Creed. That consisting of 3 mission types: eavesdropping, pickpocketing, and interrogating. There's also these light side missions you can get from loose rookie assassins throughout the cities, but these are at best. The complaints of repetitive gameplay start here, and sadly, it's not where they end. For me, it's really not all that serious, but I could definitely see where people are coming from. But what more annoys me is that they took away my counter after Mualim shanked me. I don't remember this happening. So, when I ran into a squad of guards, I got creamed because I was standing there like an idiot wondering why my counter isn't working. And I guess now is a good time as any to talk about the attention meter beeping. This thing made me want to go insane. It was honestly the bane of my existence during this replay, and I have no idea how we were able to deal with stuff like this in the previous generations. We've come a long way, gamers. Let us never forget. After, we head to this random ass British part of the map called Acres? Acres? Whatever, man. This place. Here we have to take down some old school doctor who's gone medieval on this town's asses. It was here where I noticed this really cool thing that I never had on previous playthroughs. If you enter the city and roam around knocking out your 3 tasks before getting to the Assassin's Bureau first, the interaction between you and the current head of the bureau will be different each time, which I thought was very interesting. After this, we head out of the Animus and into the Nolan North part of the simulation to get harassed by Gandalf and Kristen Bell, as the doctor teases us about the plot just to shove us back into the Animus, where we pop up at Masyaf with our totally trustworthy boy Al-Mualim, telling us of our next 3 targets and reminding us we can grab. We come to a much more forgiving part of the game, the introduction of fast travel. We are heading back to Acre for the next assassination. As you enter into a new city in search of an assassination, you have to find the nearest waypoint to synchronize in order to open up the map and find your 3 activities in that general area. And really quickly, we're treated to this cutscene and... Hold up. What is that? What is that? My boy, no! What is this man's haircut right now? Anyways, after killing Deep Fade, it's once again back to Masyaf to get gaslit by Al-Mualim. Then back to Damascus for the assassination of the Sultan from Aladdin. Then back to Al-Mualim. Then back to Jerusalem to 86 their leader as well. At this point, I'm sure you can see where a lot of people's criticism towards the game's monotony and repetitiveness could be justified. Each city you hit with each assassination, you're pretty much doing the same thing repeatedly. Which, if you are not fully invested into the game loop and living the assassin fantasy, it could quickly become exhausting. So after taking out Jerusalem's leader, we are ripped from the Animus again, for a slightly different reason than nap time this go around. We find out the assassins are planning a rescue mission for Desmond. Oh, that's us, by the way, we're Desmond. And Abstergo, along with our 2 doctor friends here, have actually been Templars along the whole time. Dum dum dum! On her way out, Lucy drops some solid foreshadowing.
The answers to all of your questions are right in front of you. You just have to know where to look.
After nap time, we roast the doctor for a bit, then it's back into the Animus, where we pick up with Alt back at home. This is where Al tells us what's up with the Apple of Eden and a light lore dump. I have to say, I love how dynamic the storytelling is in this game. No matter which people you choose to assassinate in any order, you still get a cohesive story in the in-between bits. Heading back down, it was at this moment I really started to hate the descent down Mount Assassin, and especially the horse ride out to the wasteland for what now felt like the 17th time already, especially knowing I still had to do it again after this. Not a deal breaker, but definitely could have been streamlined in some way. But I have to admit, I totally remember this being one of the first games I'd ever played with real horse mechanics, and it blew my teenage mind at the time. We ride back to Damascus for the final time, find out that me and this dude are apparently boys, and head out in search of the next assassination target. I will say this was one of my favorites so far. You're tasked with finding out which target he is out of the 6 available options on the map. Luckily, I was able to get him on the second try, but I definitely enjoyed the freshness of all of it. After visiting my bestie for the very last time and not having the heart to tell him, it's off to Big Al for our final upgrade. Now's a weird time to mention this, but all the guards in the game are practically assassins themselves. Like, look at this shit. They can do just as much, if not more than me with pinpoint accuracy, and there's zero in-game reasoning for it. Obviously, it's to give the protagonist a driving force behind them during these intense chases, but damn Ubisoft, I'm definitely glad the later installments left this in the past. We slide back to Acre once more for our final assassination mission to regain Altair's honor. At this point, hearing the repeated dialogue from citizens in distress is practically unbearable. But one thing much more pleasant to the ears is this game's sound design and attention to detail with each step my boy Alt takes. It's honestly astonishing just how many different sounds and surfaces Ubisoft were able to capture for this. No matter what people say about it, this game was truly a work of art. Our last assassination is a bit annoying, forcing us to sneak up. Getting noticed will have him very quickly making his escape. After this, we hop out of the Animus for nap time. The next morning, we wake up to more lore dumping, this time from the doctor. Then we plug back into the Matrix to hopefully remain for the rest of the game. Back at Masyaf, we gain our final upgrades and abilities, returning Altair to his former glory. Then it's off to kill the big cheese himself, Robert. I was hoping he would get some unique location for this final mission, but sadly it's just back to good old Jerusalem. We head to the Bureau and get our big ups from our new bestie Malik. Then it's off to gain some intel on old Robert, the bald big baddie from the beginning of the game. Nope, we've been duped. Robert punked out and sent a decoy in his place. Playing right into his hand, we find ourselves in a fight with about 8 Templars at one time. Narrowly escaping and heading back to the Assassin's Bureau, we lay some truth bombs on our bestie Malik. Then we ride for Kingdom to a welcome surprise. We actually do get a new location for the final assassination. I guess old Robert does have some tricks up his sleeve. This final location is called Arsif. Arsuf. Man, screw the names in this game. Arsif. Sadly, I have to say, this was definitely the biggest slog of the game for me. At this point, you are hated by the entire world and everyone wants you dead. I went through about 5 horses just trying to get across the Holy Lands. Needless to say, it was pretty annoying, especially being this close to reaching the finale. On top of it all, once you finally make it to the location marker, you are greeted with an onslaught of wave after wave of enemies, just to reach the end of the trail, at which we have a powwow with Robert and his boss, where it's, for some reason, decided that the 2 of us should duel. Okay. Or so I thought, until the entire group of Templars just tried to jump me all of a sudden. So after icing all of them with a game's worth of acquired assassin skills, we finally get the chance to put our hidden blade into Robert's neck. Laying there in defeat, he reveals Big Al's true intentions, confirming our earlier suspicions. We tell Rob's boss how much of an awesome edgelord we are, then we head home for the final time to Masyaf. But also, never mind, because we get pulled from the Animus by Doc to the sounds of gunfire. Apparently, a group of modern assassins is waging a rescue mission to save Nolan North. Unfortunately, nothing comes of it, and it's off to nap time. We wake up once again to the lovely sight of the doctor yelling at us. We slide into the Animus and instantly realize that things are off. This random citizen approaches you and starts speaking some word salad nonsense. The music is ominous, everything's black and white, very spooky stuff. Running up Mount Assassin for the final time, we are forced to slaughter like half of the Brotherhood, which made me feel kind of gross after spending so much time among them, immersing myself as an assassin over the runtime. Thankfully, our bestie Malik pulls up in the clutch with some backup, telling us he sees as we do and he's a ride or die. Alt tells him say less and we head for the compound. Now, the fight with Al-Mualim is honestly something special. Playing this on release was mind-blowing. I hadn't really seen much like this in gaming at the time. We walked through the place out the back to a previously inaccessible part of the level, this garden area, where we confront Al. He wraps us up in ancient magic as he lectures us for the 100th time. After a light syndrome monologue, the fight starts with him spawning illusions of every past assassination target, even old Bucket Fade over there. After that, he makes duplicates of himself. I'll admit, I struggled a while here until I realized you just need to kill the original Al. He wraps you up once more to finish his rant, attempting to explain the Apple of Eden and his plan. Finally released and on an even playing field, we 1v1 Big Al for the last game of hide and seek, killing him and gaining access to the Apple of Eden along with all of its secrets. Ripped from the Animus, we get told of our imminent demise, sprinkling in some teaser bait for a sequel, and then we are hit with one of the most abrupt endings I think I have experienced in video games. I don't know how, but I do not remember this from when I first played. It legit just ends. Sticking around, there's a small after credits scene and a year before Marvel did it, which is hilarious. After this, you're just put back in the game, allowing you to roam around Abstergo Lab, using your newly acquired eagle vision thanks to the bleeding effect, which I don't even think gets mentioned until the next game, so we'll wait till the next video and I'll explain that. You also have the option to use the Animus to replay any mission in the game for those 100%ers, and that brings Assassin's Creed 1 to a close. All in all, this was a great time that towards the end became a little bit more repetitive and frustrating than I remember. But hands down, I would still recommend this game to any fan of the series or newcomer. Minus some 7th gen jank, the game withstood the test of time and deserves the respect given to it by the real ones. Looking back at games in retrospect is one of my favorite things to do, and with this being my first video, I wanted to choose a game that meant a lot to me when I was younger. We have already started work on the next Assassin's Creed video and plan on doing most of the series. If you made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you. And if you like what you saw and want to see more, please, for real, subscribe, comment down below with anything you would like us to cover next. And I'll see y'all next time on Retros for Dummies.